Welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast. My name's Dean Jackson, and today this is a very special episode. I'm very excited about it. One of the great joys in my life is my relationship with Jay Abraham. And Jay and I have amazing long conversations about marketing and philosophy and what's going on in the world, all of these things. And I got to record one of these conversations for you. And one of the occasion is that on Saturday, Jay and Tony Robbins are holding a marathon event called Lock In 2021. And they do amazing hot seats where this is every year Jay gets to spend a day with Tony Robbins and his platinum group, where these are people who are from all over the world, his highest level masterminds, and all they do is tag team back and forth doing Q&A, hot seats, answering questions, helping strategize or solve these business owners. I mean, these are amazing business owners, probably $5 million plus businesses with their most pressing problems or their biggest opportunities. And so they've edited 12 hours of this into a marathon session that they're going to be hosting on Saturday. So check it out, Lock In 2021. If you can make it at all, this has my highest recommendation. I'm not an affiliate for it or anything like that. I want you to experience this because this podcast is all about that, is about essentially a hot seat every week. We share and do applying the 8 profit activators, and now you get to see Tony Robbins and Jay do a 12-hour streaming marathon of this. So look it up, Lock In 2021, and I will see you there, and enjoy this podcast.
Jay Abraham.
I am here. Let me just get to my quiet place. Can I tell you that I had one of the most interesting conversations with Werner Erhard a couple of years ago?
No, tell me.
So this guy that I have helped, Barry Margolin, the Chinese energy doctor, used to help him when he ran EST. And we were doing, this is very interesting, we were doing a discussion with Barry because Barry is very he's got a brilliant methodology, which is very powerful, but we were doing a discussion about what it would take for Barry to be more performance emancipated, to be able to literally go out there and be more connected to his audience. And I said, who, if you could emulate anyone, would it be? And he said, Werner. And I said, well, okay, you supposedly helped him a lot. Would he allow me to interview him and ask him what it was that makes or made him so engaging, powerful, compelling, authentic, mesmerizing, and evocative on the stage? And so he set up a call, and I did about an hour interview. It was very fascinating, very, very fascinating. And the guy was very interesting because he had a very unique, I've always believed, and I don't know if this is helpful for you to understand me. When I was at my public speaking peak, I would get on stage, Dean, and I would see the audience as pure, innocent little children with curiosity and hopefulness and just, total globs of wonderfully moldable clay. And when Barry and I were talking, he was so obsessed with the hurt and the sadness and the suffering. And when we talked to Werner, he said, look, I see the possibilities of their magnificence. But he had a very interesting distinction. He said, I have no sympathy, but I have great compassion. I don't deal with their shit, but I have great compassion for what they can be. And he said, it was very interesting. He said, most people are trying to make themselves the big factor. He said, all I want to do is be and he used a really interesting phraseology. He said, I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be that they achieve this for themselves using either programs or methodology that I made available. But he says I don't want myself to be this. It was very interesting and very unique distinction. The guy is very articulate. I mean, I don't know if he's very polarizing figure. I think he's still alive, but it's just really interesting.
I think that's great. Yeah, this whole, the way that you let your curiosity kind of drive everything is always fascinating to me. That you just always are willing to pursue anything, go down whatever your curiosity allows.
Well, I'll tell you what, and if you want to talk about that for any reason, I mean, I believe that hopeless curiosity interpreted, and the key is interpreted, Dean, because I think that very, very fascinating. I think that most people do not know how to connect what they are experiencing from outside their worldview and interpret what it can mean, modified, adapted, adopted, and applied to their life or their business or their reality. I was listening to something on the news, and it said, I'm see if I wrote it down. Hold on. It was really interesting. Let's see if I have it here. It was something to the effect of, do you want your beliefs to be confirmed or challenged? That's not the right word. It was a different word than challenged. And it was very fascinating because most people, I don't think, really want to be challenged, even though and challenged not just in the gauntlet phrase, but challenged in terms of flipping their worldview.
Well, you and I have talked about that a lot, that one of the things I want people to challenge my assumptions or challenge my results. I want to take the scientific method in everything and know what the truth is. We want a better way, if there's a better way for everything. It's interesting.
Well, it is. Yeah, I think most people they delude themselves. Their veneer rhetoric says they want that, but they really they have great difficulty exploring and embracing it, I think.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I am super excited that we're going to share with everybody today, because you and I, this is something, one of the great joys that I have is having these long, amazing conversations with you that are just you and I. And so this is a fun thing that we can let people kind of listen in to a lot of these conversations. You can probably tell for anybody listening that the conversations, this is exactly how it goes. We almost start the conversation in mid-conversation, because I look at it, everything we've been talking about for all this time is one extended conversation that we kind of pick up right where we left off.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just a continuation. You're right.
But I sent you a text today before we talked that was a picture of the cover of one of my most prized possessions, which is the original Abraham Method: How to Multiply Your Business Results While Reducing Your Time, Risk, and Effort. And it's for, let me describe it for people. It's about, I would say, a 36-page, 11 by 17 folded into a booklet that's a magazine style. But when I got this, Jay, the thing that really struck me about it is the impact, the visceral impact of the cover of this. That it's a very thick, beautiful blue, almost like linen-y parchment paper, cardstock, with gold leaf inlay on the cover, and it just looks and feels like this is important information. And 30 years ago, when think about that, almost 30 years ago, 1991 or 1992, almost 30 years ago was when this journey started for me, looking back at the discovering direct response. And I was telling my girlfriend today as we're was getting ready to come in here to record that 30 years ago, one of my favorite ways to pass a Sunday afternoon was to go to the Delta Hotel in Toronto, where I was, and they had a lobby with a real fireplace, and it was just a really comfortable. They had a comfortable living room type of area there, and I would go and I would sit and read magazines and read books and drink hot chocolate and just read every word of something like this, and reading Success magazine, and going deep into my lifelong obsession now with marketing. And I remember every little thing in this book. I've probably read this 50 times, going through and highlighting and doing all these things. But what I want to share with you is some of the things that these lessons, as I look back at them now, have created as frameworks for me. And so it's so amazing how putting something together like this, you never know what kind of impact you're going to have, but this looked like something that people should revere and save. This doesn't look disposable. Tell me about that. Like, what was your thought around that? Because that it's amazingly visceral, what the feeling that you get about it.
No, it is. Well, you have to understand that at that point in time, I was on an ideological mission and a crusade. I believed that I had perspective, knowledge, and not just understanding, but the ability to be a catalyst, to be able to connect and bridge for people understanding. But I also, because I had made a lot of money with this knowledge for others and for myself, I demanded, philosophically, that they revere it for what it was worth. And we were charging back then $15,000 and $20,000 per person, which was a lot in '91. And I wanted every component to have the reverence and the import that I thought the knowledge that was contained therein deserved. And so we tried to create a very powerful perspective, image, whatever you want to call it, that really translated to the recipient. This is exceptionally valuable. This is something that commands and deserves your fullest attention, understanding, and embrace. But I think that's because we had, there were 400-page books that were bound the same way. We did, when we did those programs, we were spending $1.50 a piece to make massive specialty chocolate chip cookies that we gave at the breaks. We wanted everything about the experience to be incomparable. So there was no referential basis that anybody could say, well, this is like this or this is like that, because we wanted the entirety of the experiential dynamic to shift them to be very focused on what was going on. If that makes sense.
I love that. Yeah, I look back, so one of the things that I was introduced to from this Abraham method was this idea of concentric circles that
Yes.
you laid out with the coin or the gold company, that starting out, even though your end goal was to get people who would buy $50,000 or more worth of gold, you started out only offering a gold coin for $19 or a silver coin. Or do you remember
that was one of our more inventive, but you're right. Yeah, we would take 19 and we'd get them to maybe a few thousand, and then we would get them from a few thousand to 5 or 10, and from 10 to this and that. And it was a very progressive and it was just a continuum. But I mean, I learned that from masters, and it was fascinating that back then, I mean, there were no funnels. There was nobody that was talking about LTV.
Right.
There was none of that was actually in place back then, Dean.
When you look at, so was 19 up until 1991 was most of your involvement was as a practitioner then?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you were actually like doing things, you were doing deals and making, doing ventures and all of that. And then you started teaching in the 90s.
The story is very worth telling, only because it's ironic, and it's quite, the movie The Accidental Tourist. I became the accidental seminar presenter. I mean, here's the story in a nutshell. For 10 years prior to 91, I was making an enormous amount of money for the time by looking at businesses that were underperforming based on this really basic understanding of measurable scientific marketing, advertising, human nature, just psychology that I had possessed through all this experience. And I was getting a share of all the upside that I could create. And we were making millions and millions of dollars. And then very abruptly, I got a lot of, I would say that I had a lot of hubris, and I got too arrogant and too indulgent for my own good. And I went through a massive, very expensive divorce, and it didn't work for 2 years. And when I started, I had many tens of millions. And when I got done with all the attorneys and the transfer of wealth from me to my ex-wife, I owed millions of dollars, and I wanted to get back into the ring, but I hadn't worked for 2 years, and I thought it'd be really cool to do one seminar for an audacious price that could be promoted by some of the companies that I had made hundreds of millions of dollars each for, and that I thought maybe I'd get 10 or 15 people at $15,000, and it would force me to spend time and be paid to think through what had made me great when I did it very intuitively and automatically. And because I had so many people I'd made money for, and they were very willing to sign very, very aggressive endorsement letters. The first one we did brought 350 people at $15,000. I was shocked, but I accidentally got thrust into the seminar business.
Yeah.
And then I started sharing what I'd done sort of discreetly and privately for clients.
That's so great. And that's really what that's what the Abraham method was, kind of a introduction to some of the ideas that you had worked on, some of the things you had done. I've always loved to hear all these all the stories. I remember hearing
I was very blessed. I was very blessed. I was exposed to some, I'm the culmination and the integration of being benefited, mentored by so many men and women who were so much brighter, more evolved, and they were willing to share with me distinctions, distillations of their belief systems, lessons, and I soaked it up, Dean. I just soaked it up.
Yeah, I look at, and now you everything in your mental construct here, everything layering on top of it. And it's amazing how there's an underlying idea that you can use, a principle that you can use again and again and again in other businesses. That's one of the, I think that's one of the fascinating things that makes you such a quick diagnostician of a business, to be able to see what the actual issue is and all the things that you can think of that apply to it.
Yeah, when
Fun.
one of I think that, and I'm very proud of the distinctions I made, and I keep adding, but I made some really, just clinically, not arrogantly, when I was younger, and probably one of the biggest was funnel vision versus tunnel vision, and it was quite accidentally. Here's the backstory, because it's very simple. When I got started in life, in business life, I was 18. I got married at 18, had 2 children by 20, no education. I had the needs of somebody 40. Nobody cared. Nobody would give me a good salary. The only people that would give me any opportunity were crazy entrepreneurs who would not give me a dime, but would give me a phone or say, you can have a piece of, you sort of eat what you kill, kid. And I jumped around, Dean, from not job to job, but industry to industry, sometimes 3 or 4 at a time, because I wasn't on a salary. Nobody cared. And after about 10, I realized that people in one industry didn't have a clue how people in another industry thought, didn't do the same strategy, business model, access vehicle, lead generating, conversion, positioning, competitive, revenue. Nothing. And I was able
What was your first aha of that? Do you remember when you thought to yourself, that's something that I could use here?
Yeah. It was when I did Icy Hot, the owner taught me lifetime value. He showed me that every time 10 people spent $3 the first time, 8 of them were worth $50 a year in profit thereafter forever. And that was profound to me. And with that piece of understanding, I was able to go crazy everywhere else.
Yeah. Now, tell the Icy Hot story, because there's, this is a really interesting thing, and I'm going to share with you some ways that I've used that exact principle because I learned it from you. So I want to hear.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's older, but so Icy Hot's pretty well known in North America. It's probably the top selling arthritic balm, glob of gelatinous goop that treats temporarily arthritis, bursitis.
But it wasn't always.
No. I worked years and years ago for a man whose business was buying dead or dying old line mail order companies and consolidating them and flipping the assets. He was very smart. He would buy a business that was 3rd or 4th generation where they'd run it in the ground. He would buy it on a very unique basis where he could consolidate everything, because he had a huge company that made all kinds of different chemical-driven products. He was in the saddlery business, the automotive business, the pest control business, the patent medicine business. But it was very brilliant. He taught me a bunch of things. When he closed the deal, most of these 4th generation families had run it so low into the ground, they had no idea what their machinery was worth, or even the facility. He would take it all, and he had pre-sold everything before close, where he made money at close. So they were paying him to buy the business. That was first lesson. But he would buy a lot of them. And one of them that he bought, that he was basically buying just to consolidate, was this company that made the product Icy Hot. And he was going to kill it, but he started looking at 2 things: the lifetime buying history of the buyers, because the company wasn't generating any new ones, but they were buying over and 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 over for years and years. And he saw that, just to give you the summary, every time they got 10 people to buy a jar at $3, 8 of them would buy over and over and over and over and over and over again, literally ad infinitum, until somebody either came up with a cure for arthritis or they died. Plus, upon analysis, half of them bought at least one other product in the line. Plus, upon analysis, half again would buy twice a year in bulk. The bottom line was those 8 were worth $50 a piece profit every year. With
Yes.
that, he had no marketing allocation, but he got me excited about contacting all kinds of media outlets, radio, TV, magazines, newspapers, people that had packages going to geriatrics and package inserts, and persuading them whenever they had available access to let us use their unsold advertising or stick something in their packages promoting Icy Hot, and he would let them keep 100% of the first $3 sale. It cost us, back then it was so cheap to make the product, put it in a package, send it out, bulk postage rate, 55 cents in the mail. We were selling it for $3. So there was $2.45 in real profit. Our hard cost was 55 cents. We went to all the media and we said, if you will do this for us, sell our product. We gave them ads, we gave them inserts, we gave them copy. Whenever you've got unsold ads, promote us. You can keep not only all the $3, but we'll pay you 45 cents on top, 115%. No one had ever done that. And we said, all we care about is get us the buyer name right away so we can get the product out to them so we can get the back end. Nobody had ever done that. It was really interesting. In a year, we went from no exposure to over 1,000 different media sources promoting Icy Hot all the time.
Yeah.
And what happened was none of them were exceptionally massively successful, although occasionally you did a grand slam. But on average, every day, each one would be generating for us 3 to 5 sales. So 3 to 5 times 1,000 new buyers every year, 80% worth $50 a year in profit. At the end of about a year, 2 things happened. Really fascinating, Dean. Pardon me. Number one, we had over 500,000 buyers buying over and over again. Number two, we had gotten on an adjusted basis by today's dollar equivalents, $250 million of free exposure for our then mail order company. And the exposure was so expansive that people started going to their grocery stores, to their drugstores asking for the product, and it accidentally, unintentionally forced what is called retail distribution, meaning it went from a mail order product to a consumer distributed product. Now, today, that isn't as valuable as being a huge internet product, but then the difference between a mail order company and a consumer product, you can put a 0 on the end of the value of that business.
Yeah.
And at the end of about 15 months, it was sold for $60 million. That's the first phenomenon. I think he bought it for something like $100,000. Now, that's not even the fascination. This shows rigidity of mindset, a very limited paradigm. The company that bought it was a pharmaceutical company that then was based in Chicago. All they understood, Dean, was consumer product and retail distribution. They did not want the 500,000 buyer name. They did not want the over 1,000 entity distribution chain, all the radio, TV, newspaper, magazines. All they wanted was the brand and the retail. We got to go right back, and we had one prohibition: analgesic stuff. I mean, stuff for arthritis that was, a cream or an ointment or a salve. Everything else in the genre we were free to do. We went right back and did it again.
Wow.
That's interesting story, isn't it?
Well, it's amazing. And so, looking back now, so I heard that story in 1991 or 92, whenever it was, and that has struck with me as a model, a mental model that we can use, an understanding that lifetime value is more important to know than just your short-term cost of acquisition. And I've used this. I'm going to tell you a tale of two of the people in my life here. So I have a massage therapist where I go and get massages quite regularly. And so I think if you average it out, I probably get 3 massages a month. And so we're talking about maybe probably a $4,000 client to a massage therapist, right? And
Right.
I was sharing this idea of, as a way of getting people. I what I was suggesting to her was, one of the things was Groupon as a way of acquiring new customers, where they do all of the promotion, all of the stuff, and you are doing you're offering to do an initial massage for somebody for a percentage, a fraction of what it would normally be. And she was very reluctant, very
Sure.
right, because I'm not going to give it away. Those are all the things, not realizing that she's really good, and that most of the people that come once continue to come again and again. And so she, kind of shied away from the idea. My girlfriend, who owns a studio called Amazing Brows and Lashes here in Winter Haven, immediately saw the idea. She's got products like services where they do microblading for eyebrows and all these expensive facial things that they do that can be, hundreds of dollars, $500 for microblading. One of the things that they do are eyelash lifts, which is about an $80 procedure, and takes about 30 to 40 minutes to do. She's got girls in her studio who do it, but Groupon, they do it on Groupon as a thing, and generate lots of hundreds of people come to do the eyelash lift, but she gets the customer who now sees the studio. She's turned invisible prospects into visible clients, people who have come to your place, who have done a business with you, who know where you are, see all of the other things. And some amazing percentage of the people who come for an eyelash lift will progress to other things and get eyebrow microblading, or their lips done, or facials, or all of these things. She's developed a ongoing clientele from that by basically doing the lash lifts at break even, because by the time she pays the technician who's doing it, it's zero profit basically, but she doesn't have any cost of acquiring them. Groupon is doing all of the email to expose that out to people. And I've tried to share that with people, in terms of thinking past the initial, most people, if they sell something for $100, they don't want to spend more than $50 to acquire a new customer for that, right? Even though when that person buys the 100, they're going to, potentially buy it for forever. So understanding lifetime value has been amazingly useful for me as an idea. And I think that's something, so many different ways that applies.
And I'll tell you something very interesting. There's a lot of different things. Here's a couple of stories like that are very fascinating. We've taken it. I mean, I learned that early, and when I first learned it, admittedly, I only saw it direct application, but the wonderment of all the exposure to all the different diverse industries I've been privileged to encounter gave me the ability to take it to sublime. So we've had people who take a similar situation. We've gone to people. Let's take we've done it with chiropractors and any kind of professional that was legally able to do it. if they have underutilized capacity, we'd say go to an influencer. Tell that influencer that you want to buy him or her a dollar denominated, $2,000 of your services over a period of time. And the only stipulation you have is two things. They treat it as if they paid for it. If they schedule it, they use it. And if they get a fabulous outcome, they agree that when the situation arises, which it will, people in their aura, in their business, in their social or professional sphere, they will tell them about you. And we've turned enormous amount of underutilized capacity. So they got 3 hours they're not using.
Yes.
You're better off having somebody there who has influence over 100 people than you are nobody sitting around waiting. And I mean, I take in the last couple of years, I've had people influence me with taking the belief system higher. But think about this. We call it the difference between being a 2D and a 3D thinker. And this is very interesting. It's the difference between thinking like a limited business person or thinking like a private equity firm. Most entrepreneurs or business owners, and we can go into the difference between just a proprietor and an entrepreneur, but most of them think in terms of 2D: revenue minus expense equal profit. A private equity firm and a very astute, like-minded entrepreneur thinks 3D. They think in terms of also yield. What is that effort? What is that asset? That asset is the buyer, the relationship, the initial interaction you've had, and the conveyance of value that you have provided. What is that going to produce on an ongoing basis over time in terms of ROI, in terms of yield? It's a very more elevated concept, a little esoteric, but very powerful.
Yeah. And that's something, when you look at that excess capacity, that is a big, big concept. And even more so now. The interesting thing is the difference between 1991 and 2021 is that there's so much that can happen in the cloud now, that there's like gravity. I remember, I think I shared in a conversation with you how I remember reading Claude Hopkins and reading about Robert Collier and all these guys, and thinking how lucky they were that they were sending letters for a penny, right? I thought, man, if I could send letters for a penny, I'd be rich, And now here we are, able to send any digital communication for free to millions of people. It's amazing, right? But this concept of excess capacity, did I share with you what happened with Mr. Beast recently? No. Okay. Do you know who Mr. Beast is?
I do not.
Okay, so he's one of the top YouTubers right now. He's got 40 plus million subscribers to YouTube, and every video that he puts out gets 40 to 50 million viewers on it, eyeballs watching the videos. Now, on December 23rd, what Mr. Beast did was he launched 300 Mr. Beast burger restaurants on one day in 300 markets. And the way that he did this, the only way that you could possibly do it, was he found independent restaurants in 300 local markets with excess capacity, and he partnered with them to prepare his menu. He's got, he makes cheeseburgers and chicken tender sandwiches and chicken sandwich and French fries, and that's it, a very basic menu. And all under the Mr. Beast Burger brand. But it's only available through Grubhub and Uber Eats and Seamless and DoorDash, all the online food delivery services. So an independent restaurant who might be struggling right now and has excess capacity in their kitchen can prepare, in addition to whatever they're doing, Mr. Beast's menu and send it out the back door through the delivery services. And he opened 300 of them in one day. And you start to
That's
see
amazing.
this is that VCR formula that I was sharing with you a couple of weeks ago, that the vision plus capabilities multiplied by reach. And so capabilities are where you find these excess capacity. It's not only capability, but excess capacity of capability is an even more valuable asset that you have access to.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It really is, isn't it? I mean, it's you're seeing it now happening all the way along. It's how Kylie Jenner became a billionaire. You know, she had the vision to make a cosmetics line, and she partnered with Seed Labs there in LA, who make all of the cosmetics, basically private label manufacturer, and they have the capability to manufacture, distribute, customer service, all of the stuff involved in making and delivering and serving the people who buy the cosmetics, and then you multiply it by Kylie Jenner's social media reach of 150 million people. And it's made in heaven. Kylie Jenner, you know, she sold 51% of her company, her less than 3-year-old company, 51% of it to Coty for $600 million.
Jeez.
And
I
you know
heard
that
she only had about 30 employees.
seven people.
Jeez.
So you think, you know, all they're doing is coming up with the vision of what do we want to make, what colors are we going to do, what are we going to name them, doing all the creative stuff, and then immediately to Seed Labs to make the stuff and then get the word out to her 150 million people. And there you go. Now, Seed Labs is a great, what they do is they partner with influencers or people like that. They do all the behind the scenes stuff, but they know enough to partner with people who've got vision and reach.
No, that's fabulous. That's brilliant.
It really is. So you start to see, like, thinking like that from a modern, a modern day situation. That's really where, you must be going like crazy seeing all the opportunities like this now. I mean, in the digital world, the rules are the scale is so much different.
No, that's fascinating. And the thing about it, there's another dimension to it, and that is the cost of creating value incrementally is zero. In other words, you have a $5,000, a $10,000, a $500, $50 product or service, above and beyond upon break even, it costs you incrementally, digitally, nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So you can give it away. You can buy it for somebody. You can package it. You can make it a bonus. I mean, you got so much latitude.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things, is to couple excess capacity with a referral program or a win-back program as well. But you look at especially if it's your incremental cost is zero or low, you've got so much opportunity that one of the things I've found is gift a friend is so much better than refer a friend. That we all want to feel like we're getting the glory of the gift that we're giving to our friends, rather than us selling somebody on doing something. It's so much more rewarding to give somebody a gift of that. It's an empowering thing.
Yeah, no. Well, the same thing. I have a very decisively different belief, and I talked about this years ago at a big event, but I'll tell you, this is fascinating. I believe that today the word free has gotten marginalized. Still works, but I think the perception of value in free is very low. I think that a semantic change, meaning changing the perception and saying we will buy you this, changes very, very significantly the perception of value. And one more dimension, I think today people miss the boat, Dean, by not explicitly expressing why you're doing it and what reciprocal action you either want, are asking, or hope the recipient of you buying them this product or service experience will take once, if, and after it has a successful outcome for them.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I agree with you putting the dollar amount on it. One of the things that we did, I think that's true for, anything. If you put a real monetary value on something, Luba with her amazing brows, one of the way we built up her list was offering on Facebook a $100 gift card. That was her grand opening $100 gift card offer, where we ran ads on Facebook within a 10-mile radius of her studio to women, and offered them a $100 gift card for microblading, which was essentially a 20% off certificate. Is really what it was, because it's $100 on a $500 thing is 20%, but the perception of $100 is a very different thing. Like often when people are running percentage off offers, they're doing it to stimulate activity now. So typically that's coupled with 20% off until January 30th. So you've got to, spur you into action now, right? And so when you're building a business like that, if somebody's not ready right now to get their eyebrows microbladed, there's no need for them to respond to the ad. But we know that this is an aspirational thing, and a $100 gift card allows somebody to put their intention for getting microblading in their hope chest, basically, but identify themselves as someone who is interested in microblading. And so we were able to build that list very quickly because it only cost us $1.50 to give those gift cards. Like we were getting the leads for about $1.50 each. It cost us $1.50 to give someone a $100 gift card. So we, for $3,000, we built a list of 2,000 ladies who all live right in the radius of the studio. And that's been the foundation of her business, because every week now we email those ladies every week and offer them all the services and all the things that they do at the studio. So it's been the asset, the capital investment of generating that list.
No, that's amazing. That is fascinating. Now, a funny question: did you take that process anywhere else?
Yes. So now I use it all the time. That's where this is one of the things that I love about experimenting with all kinds of different businesses. Like, even as gifting, I think I mentioned to you that, I do work with the Mosquito Authority. And one of the things that, again, is the most useful, valuable thing is excess capacity of the availability to do a service for someone. Now, this is as close to magic as you can get in a service. I mean, you've got mosquitoes, and they come, they treat your yard, and you have no mosquitoes. And it's transformational in your backyard. I have a courtyard that we walk through to get to my front entrance. And it would be, and in the evening, I have a glass door on the front of my house. And in the evenings, if the light was on inside, all the mosquitoes, I live in Florida, right? So lots of mosquitoes everywhere. They would be all up on the front door. And the game would be, how can I, we need to open the door, get in the house really quick and close the door to let the minimum number of mosquitoes in the house, right? And when they come, they treat the whole courtyard, the whole yard. And Jay, I can leave my front door wide open, and there are no mosquitoes anywhere. It's magic.
That's impressive.
So once people experience that, though, they then don't ever want to be without it. So instead of, this has been one of the big beliefs that I've cemented here, that I always say sometimes it's less expensive to get the result for somebody than it is to convince them to give you money to get the result.
Yeah, and that's quite profound. That's a very distinctive but a very powerful insight, and everyone in your world listening should really think about this many times, because it has direct or indirect applicability to almost anybody.
Yes. And you start to think about that now. It's like there's zero friction in somebody who's skeptical about whether you can actually get rid of the mosquitoes, because there's been lots of things that make promises. Like everybody's tried citronella candles, and everybody's tried the bug zappers, and everybody's tried the intermittent sprays that try and get rid of them, and the ultrasound and all that stuff, but none of them work, right? And so to have this as truly something different that really gets the result, it's so much better, because when people, just like you talked about the icy hot, people who get the service, over 80% of the people who are this year clients come back next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. So the retention and lifetime value of a client is so much more. So to give somebody the free experience first is an amazing thing. Now, one of the ways that you can look at multiplying people is, as soon as people have that experience and sign up to become a new client, we give them golden tickets to give to their friends, so that wherever they go, they can be mosquito free. And it's like, I love it. It's a way of, spreading one at a time. But that's using excess capacity and an understanding of lifetime value to look at that as it's much less expensive to take on the incremental cost of delivering a treatment to somebody,
Yeah, I mean, you're laying out for everybody a safe but a very, very, very high leverage path to really growing their business long term. And most people don't realize, Dean, it's very fascinating. They're playing unknowingly, usually a very short term game. When in fact, real business, if you're not just a promoter that's very tentative, real business is a long term game.
Yeah, that's the thing that they look at. So most of the time when business owners are they're looking at the profit on the initial transaction that they have, and they don't they don't think they can advertise. They want to keep their advertising costs below what that one transaction is, and so it's amazingly short-sighted how they end up thinking.
If you think about it reflectively, how much more income, security, certainty, stress reduction, wealth creation, asset accumulation could business owners achieve if they thought more like this?
Mm-hmm. That's what I love. Like this, the whole concept behind the More Cheese, Less Whiskers podcast is each week I bring on a new business owner and we just talk about their business. And I do it so that people can see how these are cross principles that you can apply in so many different ways. And it's fascinating to to see. I find it very stimulating to apply my framework to lots of different businesses, to look and see how do the 8 profit activators apply to these businesses. And I know you do and have done a lot of hot seats like that. And that's what I really wanted to have you on to talk about, that because I know you're doing a marathon of that with Tony Robbins coming up. But maybe, I'd love to hear some of your thought and approaches to hot seats, and then maybe what you're doing with Tony.
That's great. And wait just 1 second, because where I am, a bunch of Army helicopters just flew by. As soon as they go by and I can talk, not F over them. So I'll tell you this historically and very respectfully. I was doing hot seats, I think, probably before most people, maybe many, maybe most everybody. We were doing them back in the late 80s, but but I've evolved it to a point where I've become, I think, because I've been able to experience over 1,000 industries and been able to look at hundreds and hundreds of different marketing approaches, strategy, disciplines, business models, etc. We can usually look at a situation and in a very compressed and a very, very elegant but efficient way, isolate what I will call the biggest logjam within that business that needs to be really addressed. Most people don't. I mean, it's very much akin, Dean, to the adage about people. Instead of trying to get the cause solved, they're really trying to solve the symptom. And I try to figure out what the hell is the cause. When we do hot seats, we respectfully but ruthlessly demand that the entrepreneur participating in the hot seat be able to articulate exactly, precisely what the big issue is, why that issue is important, and what the implication of that issue currently being a problem or a frustration, including an underperforming or an untappable opportunity is, and what it would mean if they achieved it. So we have clarity that they're really in alignment with their highest and best focus. And then we just, we divide and conquer. But I've been doing it, we've done it for $25,000, through translation in China. We've done them, for $50,000 in groups for high-end people. And then what we're doing now, which is really interesting, is every year for the last 5 or 6 years, Tony Robbins and I have done together what I would call, he calls it pitch and catch. I call it conceptual intellectual tag team. And what we do is he gets his high-end people, the $85,000 a year and the $150,000 a year platinum partners and lions together one day a year. And for 6 to 8 hours, he and I just take on all comers, so to speak. They stand in lines and we go rapidly through, and they pose their biggest issue, challenge, problem, underperforming opportunity, untapped, growth goal, and we together address it from as many meaningful vantage points. We try to give them solutions, strategies, understanding. We reframe it. It's very stimulating, and we do dozens and dozens and dozens of them every year. And I always receive the videos of them, and we've taken the very most powerful and demonstrable ones, the ones that people, no matter what the businesses they're in, can learn from, and we put them together in a marathon that we're doing on the 16th of January.
That's amazing. And, I think it's worth noting what the people who were in that room had to go through to be in that room, what that means, who's in the room. We're not talking about people who are, I love how Mark Cuban called people entrepreneurs. We're not talking about people who are maybe someday hoping to start a business. You're talking about peak performers, people who have very successful businesses running right now. And that's
you're talking about everybody there from the average company there is probably over 5 million and up to probably 1 billion, but they represent the spectrum, and they've come from around the world. I have a list, and I was just looking for it, and it got moved by my wife, who doesn't like, I'm at my beach house, so doesn't like me to leave things, but I went through it yesterday just in anticipation of something else I was doing, and it was remarkable. Everybody from, there's hedge funds there's accounting firms, there's manufacturing firms, there's companies that one company does organ sourcing. I mean, really interesting stuff.
Organ sourcing. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's for-profit, non-for-profit, service companies, manufacturing companies, professional services, online, offline, agencies, marketing people. It's just really interesting, and the spectrum and the diversity of questions and issues that they pose, and the challenges that they come to us to solve are very fascinating. And just for reference, up until COVID, we would do these in Amsterdam, or we would do these in London. So people would, first of all, they paid up to and beyond $100,000 to be a member of this group, to be able to access this. It's only one of their benefits. They would fly thousands and thousands of miles, and they would, come specifically for the period. People, there were about 1,250 people total that participated in these experiences. If you put a pencil to it and you multiply that times an average of about $100,000, that's a lot of investment to gain access. And I think that, and very candidly, he and I together are very, very interesting. We're very compatible, but we come at each issue from different vantage points. So the integration, let's call it the strategic sandwich that evolves, is very, very, it's incomparable, and it's almost undescribable. It's really fascinating. And I mean, I go to it. I've always had to up my game. I'm very proud of my ability, but when I have to be able to match wits with Tony, who's very fast, very, very expansive, very articulate, it puts me in a role where I have to be more than on my best performance medal. I have to be beyond that. So it brings out an enormous So you know, at extreme sports, you can call it extreme collaborative contribution. I mean, it's
Right.
unimaginably powerful. It's just really, you know, it's sort of like sparks flying and about Vesuvius exploding. It's really stimulating, Dean.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So where can people go to be part of this if they want to join you for the live, the marathon, January 16th,
Yeah,
so Sunday?
yeah. It's if they can go to. There is a very simple landing page. It's called Lock In, LOCKIN 2021, the year 2021, LOCKIN 2021.com. And there's a really cool little, there's a 3-minute video that shows a spectrum of the people that have been in there or be there, and you'll meet. There's a little distillation of what it's like. You get to watch us together a little bit, and there's an explanation. And by the way, it's very modest. It's priced at so little. It's about one tenth of 1/10 of 1% of what everyone else paid to be there. It's just enough to make people take it seriously. And it's 12 hours. It's a marathon. There's 63 different hot seats going on over 12 hours. And we also have guest perspectives recorded from Damon John, who I've had a collaborative relationship with on a number of issues. Very stimulating. It'll be a really powerful way to reset and get a business going and growing, or get it really super performing for the year to come, irrespective of the economy or the challenges.
That's awesome. And that's, you know, the reason I was sharing the things like the Icy Hot story and the concentric circles with the coin company and the modern, my application of those things is we just talked about literally 2 business case examples there that have reach over many different industries that I've used in many different ways. And so this kind of thinking here, I think from concentrate to be able to hear almost at a concert pitch, as our friend Gary Halbert used to say, at a concert pitch, you know, you distilling your best focused advice for a specific business, to be listening for the underlying model that can be used, taking away the content of it. Like, certainly pay attention to the content, certainly pay attention to the specific things that he's doing, but really pay attention to what's really going on here. How many different ways could I apply this, or how could that apply to my business if you're, you know, a single operator of one business? There's so much to draw from there. I can't imagine that anybody who invested the time to be part of it would not get a multiple of the return.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I think we tallied up that in this 12 hours there are over 100 universal lessons that almost any size, type, scope, and geographic based entrepreneur could use directly or indirectly. Meaning that if you look at, you and I know that my business model is that you can find grand slams, but if each time you find one thing that'll add 10 or 15%, you get 10 of them or 20 of them, your business doubles and redoubles and doubles again.
That's
and exactly that kind of lessons. It's very. I mean, I couldn't encourage more people. I mean, anybody who's ever thought that they've seen a hot seat will be humbled. And I mean that very respectfully. It's more perhaps Tony than I, but there's nothing imaginable, the scope and expanse, dimension, and agility that they will see, and I mean, there's just such a spectrum of issues industries, businesses,
Yeah.
and opportunity being exposed. And it just really, I get it's every year when I do these with Tony, it's the high point
Yes.
of my career because it is the highest level of intellectual stimulation challenge. And I think, Dean, I've always said every human being at all times, you move back and forth. You're a student and a teacher. You're a leader and a follower. And I go back and forth because Tony and I come at it. He comes up with one perspective. I come up with another. Then we evaluate it. Sometimes we debate it in front of everybody. It's really interesting.
Yes. Amazing. Well, I've got it blocked off for me.
Great. I look forward to having you critique me afterwards.
Yes, I can't wait. So there we go. So lockin2021.com. And so join us. You guys know I don't promote things on this podcast or do affiliate deals or anything like that. This is purely my way of introducing you to something that is going to make an amazing impact in your life, just like Jay's made in my life. So I want to transfer that to you. So lock in 2021. I'll be there. Jay will be there. It'll be very exciting. And I can't wait to hear the impact that it has on you. So Jay, thank you so much.
Oh, come on, Dean. You're gracious. I have found our private conversations to be equally as stimulating and to introduce me to threads of perspective I have never had. And I've got to say just publicly that I think you have understanding, distinctions, and methodology that anybody would be foolish not to avail themselves of. You look at it from a vantage point that is very, very elegant, very powerful, and very, very, very unique, but very, very profitable. And I've enjoyed, and I hope to continue enjoying the private discussions. Your mind is amazingly astute, and your ideas are enormously original. So thank you for that privilege.
I love it. Thanks, Jay. Have a great day.
You as well. Bye.
Okay, bye.
And there we have it. Another great episode. Thanks for listening in. If you want to continue the conversation, we'll go deeper in how the 8 profit activators can apply to your business. 2 things you can do. Right now, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com and you can download a copy of the More Cheese Less Whiskers book, and you can listen to the back episodes, of course, if you're just listening here on iTunes. Secondly, the thing that we talk about in applying all of the 8 profit activators are part of the breakthrough DNA process. And you can download a book and a scorecard and watch a video all about the 8 profit activators at breakthroughdna.com. And that's a great place to start the journey in applying this scientific approach to growing your business. That's really the way we think about Breakthrough DNA as an operating system that you can overlay on your existing business and immediately look for insights there. So that's it for this week. Have a great week, and we will be back next time with another episode of More Cheese, Less Whiskers.